Hello, my name is Hanna and this is episode 8 of the HERBGARDEN knitwear podcast. Today I have 2 exciting announcements and I will also chat with you about the Lunae Shawl that I'm currently working. Let's dive right in. Today I am wearing one of my own designs, but I will warn you in advance because I will probably mispronounce the name of it because it's a Welsh word. I give it my best try, and you are free to tell me in the comments if I completely did it wrong. So this is the Hiraeth Sweater. Which is a word expressing a longing for something that no longer is or never was. And I really liked that word, so I used it for this design. It has a beautiful circular yoke with these kind of ray-like beams, and it has the same pattern here on the cuff and also on the bottom edge, which you can't see right now, but yes. And I made this sweater using Origin from Rain, Cloud and Sage, and I really like it because it's very, very warm. It's a lovely yarn, and I really enjoyed the sweaters very much. Yeah, so much even that I consider making a second one because I still have enough yarn to do this in a different color combination, which is very exciting, I think. Yes, but let's dive into the announcements. So, announcement number 1. My Chainmail Slipover is ready to be test knit. So, if you have been on this channel for a while, this is the Slipover in question. And this pattern is now ready and has been tag edited and is now ready to be tested. I opened the tester call, I believe 2 days ago or something like that, just a few days ago. But as of now, there are still testing spots for all sizes available. So if you are interested in testing this slipover, then please follow the link in the description box below. As all my test knits, this test is going to take place on Yarn Pond, which is a website especially for test knitting, which I enjoy really much, very much. There is a lovely chat room where everybody can post progress pictures and where we can discuss anything that might come up with a pattern during the test, which is really lovely because everybody can just read along and can just chat with each other. And I think that's much nicer than just me sending out anonymous mails to all the testers at once. So I really like that platform. The slipover is available in 18 sizes, so there are a lot of sizes, and therefore I will accept a lot of testers. I am looking for at least 3 testers for every size. So if you're interested at all, maybe let's talk a little bit about the construction of the slipover. First, you cast on the rib here at the waistline. Then you work the rib, and then there are these lovely welts here, which I think are a lovely detail. Then you work those, and then you switch to the seat stitch. And the seat stitch is worked with a larger needle and holding 2 strands of yarn together, while everything else, the rib and the welts and also the I-cords here at the armhole, all those sections are worked holding only a single strand of yarn and with the smaller needle. So then you work the slipover in the round until the point where you have to split for front and back. Then you will work both the front and the back flat, and then you close the shoulder seams with the 3 needle bind-offs. So it is an absolutely seamless garment. You don't have to seam anything except for the neckline. So the neckline is worked in the way that you pick up with the smaller needle and 1 strand of yarn, you pick up stitches for these welts here, and then you work the welts and you bind them off, and then you cast on this ribbing separately, work the ribbing, fold it in half and bind it off as well. And that is because the ribbing and the welts do have a different stitch counts. So in order to attach the rib to the welts, like in a way that the stitches are distributed evenly, I describe a technique in the pattern which helps you do that. You basically always, you do it like setting in a sleeve when you sew, like you fold the sections in half, then you mark the halfway point both on the rib and on the welts, and then you select connect this point only and on the other side as well, and then you take the half again, and so the sections will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you will attach the rib to the neckline at all these tiny points, like single points of attachment, until these points are so close together that you can no longer poke your finger through one of those holes. So that makes sure that these stitches are evenly spread over the neckline. And then finally you finish off the armholes with a beautiful I-cord, and I explain this in detail in the pattern. And this is one of the designs I really enjoy the most. This is one I can't take off. It's so versatile. I really love that you can wear it either with just a blouse underneath, and when it's very, very cold outside, you can pop a cardigan on, and when you wear your coat outside, this is a very useful extra layer, because I often have the problem if I layer too many sweaters and go outside, then the section here where I bend my arm is too tight with my winter coat on, and I really like that I can use this as an additional layer without having that problem. So yeah, I really enjoy this, and I hope you will too. And please send me your application through Yarn Pond. As I said, I will link this below, and I'm looking forward to have as many testers as I can. And yeah, so maybe one more thing to say. The deadline will be March the 30th of 2023, and the yarn that I used is Rauma Vinyl, but you are welcome to use any yarn that you like and that you can get exact gauge with. For a test knit, of course, that is very important. Let's talk about announcement number 2. On the very 1st of February, I shared a post on Instagram, and there I talked about how I often think about ways to make designing sustainable for me and still on the same time providing some kind of value for this knitting community that I cherish very much. And this is a topic you can probably imagine that kind of is always in the back of my mind. And this February I decided to try something new, because me as a designer, I depend on people who find me on the internet. So having reach with my content is really, really important to me, because if you do not know my patterns and that they exist, you will of course not buy them. So that is what I desperately need. And what is also true is that knitters who usually are on the upper part of the size range need a lot more money to finish their knitting project, because obviously they need a lot more yarn than people who are on the middle or on the lower end of the size range. So I wanted to kind of connect these two aspects, and I decided to offer all my garment patterns for free to everyone who wants to knit one of the 3 largest sizes of this garment for themselves for all the time of February 2023. So in this Instagram post, which I will also link below, you will find all the details about this offer, because there are some things I want to make sure of. So I want you to know that even though I hope to gain more interested knitters for my patterns, I do not ask of you to take pictures of the finished item if you ever make the garment, because I think that should be your free choice. But if you choose to do that, I am happy to offer you a second free pattern. So if you post finished object pictures within the year 2023, then I will happily give you a second free pattern. What is important to me is that I only give out the pattern for free if you are making the pattern for yourself. I had people contact me asking about this offer, and they told me they wanted to make a larger size for one of their friends, which is of course very, very kind and very generous. But I feel I really want to support the people who always need to spend a lot of money for their knitting, and if you decide to make it for your friend, that's of course very, very nice. But then you usually making the pattern for yourself, you would need less money than the friend you're making it for. So this is one of the things that is really important for me. And if you want to make one of those 3 largest sizes of any of my patterns, my garment patterns, then you can just send me a message on Instagram stating the pattern that you want to make and the size you want to make it in. And of course I need your Ravelry account name, because with that I can add the pattern to your Ravelry library for you to access. Yes, do I have forgotten? One more thing. Of course, this offer only applies to my self-published patterns, so the one that I released myself and not in a magazine. Those are the patterns I can offer you, not the ones that were published in a magazine, because they're it can be that the magazine still owns the right to release and to give away the pattern, and not me. So I only can offer you my self-published patterns. What I've said in this video is just a little description. So if you want to really get to know the terms of my offer, please refer to my Instagram post, where I all wrote it down in detail for you to read and for you to check. So please refer to that for any detailed information. I really hope that this offer will help both knitters of who need the larger sizes and my little knitwear business. Maybe we can support each other, and it would be very kind if you like this offer and you would be willing to share this information or my Instagram post with knitters who might be interested. That would be very nice. So I believe that was everything about the announcements. As I said, feel free to leave me any questions in the comments below. I will happily answer them. Usually here on YouTube it takes me a few days to answer those comments, because I'm not regularly logged in on YouTube, like on my phone or something. I have to log in manually on my computer, so it may take me some time, but I always try to get back to all the lovely people who wrote something in the comments for me. And I really enjoy reading the comments, so please keep them going, have faith in me. I will come back to you in a while. Yes, so let's maybe chat about the project I'm currently knitting on. So I already told you in the last episode that I decided to cast on something that is like a project just for me to relax, and I decided to cast on the Lunae Shawl, which is a design by Natasja Hornby from Moonstruck Knits. And this shawl is knit, let's say, in 2 parts. This is the first part. You start with one of these tips, and I believe I started on this side here, and then I worked like back and forth all the way to the other hand here. And right now it's rolling up a little bit. It's actually quite a bit deeper than it appears on screen. Yes, and so far I think it looks very, very nice. It has these mosaic knitting stripes, and then it has these textured stitches in between. I'm not sure, can you? Yes, the stitch pattern is visible enough. Yes, and I really like this combination, but I have to say that these textured stitches, even though they look very, very nice in my opinion, they were a little time consuming to work, because without giving too much away, as this is a paid pattern, but you kind of decrease and increase in every second row. So in the first row you decrease a lot of stitches, and then in the next row you increase back to the stitch count that you need. And that of course is something you need to be very aware of. So it's not super mindless, even though I was able to knit and watch TV with this, but yeah. And now I will show you the wrong side, because I still have plenty of ends here that I need to weave in, but that's fine with me. I don't mind that as much. And now what I would do is I would go, I don't know if you can see this, it's like a little triangle. And what I would do now is pick up stitches along this bottom edge here, and then work the second part of this shawl. The yarn that I'm using for this project is a yarn that I do not have any label for. I bought it even without a label. It comes in tiny 20-gram balls. So this is the 3rd ball of the orange yarn that I just broke into. So this is almost the size that it comes in. And then I have this much left over of the other 2 colors. So from this like white, light gray color and this darker color, I not even used one of these balls for all this. And the orange part, as I said, is almost just a few stitches more than 2 balls. So this is the tip where I bound off, and as you can see here I changed yarn, so only this tiny little tip here is what I used from the 3rd ball of yarn. And these little balls come in 20 grams, and they have 84 meters, and all that I know of this yarn is that it is 100% wool. And aside from that, it's a mystery yarn, but I really enjoy knitting with it. I think the colors work beautifully together. Yes, and there's now only one thing that yeah, kind of keeps me from being very happy with this right now. In general, I really like it. The pattern is really well written, and I am absolutely sure I will love the end result. It will be absolutely beautiful. But stitch gauge wise, I am on spot. So this largest point here is supposed to be 27 centimeters, and it is absolutely perfect. But lengthwise, like the upper edge where I have to weave in all these ends, this edge is supposed to be 1 meter and I believe 35 centimeters, which is, I don't know, about 52 inches or something, doesn't matter. Anyways, while my stitch gauge is perfectly on spot, the row gauge is obviously not, because like if I look at the whole width of this, I am missing about 15 to 20 centimeters, so that is about 6 to 8 inches, which of course is a lot. And that will be a problem if I just continue by picking up the stitches on this bottom edge here, because I believe that the stitches are picked up here and then the shawl is worked downwards, like in rows in this direction. So if my stitch gauge is on spot and my row gauge isn't, then I will not have enough space on this edge to pick up all the stitches that I'm supposed to pick up as the pattern tells me. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I believe I will go ahead and first get rid of all these ends here and sew them in, and then I will maybe just wash the shawl and look if have a look at the yarn if it grows lengthwise. And usually I am not a big fan of blocking things to size. I would never recommend that, and I don't think it's the way to go. But in this case, I might not have another chance, except maybe these are my two options. I either, you know, rip back or just throw this away and use a different yarn where I can get row gauge as well. Or I just try to stretch it, because it is very easy to stretch, but as you can see, that also means that the lovely mosaic stripes here will get stretched, and I'm not sure if I really like that. So what I will probably do is that I will get this wet and lay it down on my blocking board, and then first of all I will just flatten it out, and without stretching it I will measure it again and see how much difference that might make comparing to the dry state that it has now. And then I will maybe see if I can carefully stretch just these sections in between, or if I can maybe I really hope that maybe once it is wet I do not have to stretch it as much at all. Maybe it will just grow a little bit by itself. But yeah, this is kind of the state it is currently in, and I'm not quite sure how this project will get finished and how this will happen. So yeah, I will keep you updated on this. I believe, I forgot one more thing. I am supposed to knit this on 3.75 millimeter needles, I believe, but I didn't have those at home, so I am using 3.5 millimeter needles, which obviously worked for my stitch gauge as it is spot on, but not for the row gauge. Yes. Yeah, as I usually am a monogamous knitter, I know in the past year I kind of was all over the place and had sometimes more than one project, but usually if everything goes well, I am a monogamous knitter, so this is everything I can show you for today. I have nothing else cast on, and yeah, so I will see how this goes, if I can continue working on the bottom edge, or if I maybe get a little frustrated with that and just cast on something else in between. So for the informational segment of this episode, I think maybe we can chat a little bit about blocking, because it really kind of matches the problem with the shawl that I have, which I already talked about. Usually, as I already said, I am a monogamous knitter, so I think this podcast gets a little more interesting if I share a little bit of knitting help in each video. So let's make this one about blocking. I feel that blocking is something that is understood very differently by many knitters. So of course there is not wrong or right here, as there almost never is with knitting. There are many ways to achieve a beautiful result, but today I would like to share a little bit about how I like to block my knits. So maybe it is surprising to you, but I do wash all my knits, even the most rustic yarn, the most rustic non-superwash yarn. I always wash those in my washing machine. And the important part about that is that you need a washing machine with a special wool cycle, because if you do not have a wool cycle, then of course your garments can felt or shrink or both, which of course would be a disaster. So maybe to explain why a wool cycle makes such a difference, felting and shrinking happens basically when two things happen to the knit. So first of all, if there's a lot of motion, like if there's a lot of rubbing against each other, that is one thing that can be a problem. And the other thing that might even more dangerous is that if there is a drastic change in temperature. So if your washing machine has a wool cycle, then it will make sure to not spin around the knitting too fast or too often. It will turn very gently, and the temperature, and so with my machine I can even choose if it should wash the knits simply with cold water or with 30 degrees Celsius. But even if I choose this 30 degrees Celsius program, my washing machine will make sure that the temperature does not change very, very fast, but it will change the temperature very slowly, which is very important. So, long story short, I do not soak my woolens in a pot or something like that, or in the tap. I actually put them in the washing machine, and the cycle there is about 40 minutes long, and that is very important as well, because if you put your knits in water for too long, then that increases the risk for a yarn to bleed, which is of course only important if you have like some kind of colorworks or stripes. So let's imagine this yarn would not be like this soft pink but a vibrant red, then I would be very, very cautious for this red not to bleed into this cream section here. So it is important that the yarn is in the water long enough for to be really soaked through. Like, you want all the fibers to get wet once, but you do not want to soak things overnight, for example. That is something I would never do. That's very dangerous. And then of course I always add some wool wash to my wool cycle. Yes. And so when the sweater comes out of the washing machine, I usually put it on a towel and I roll the towel up, and then I just walk on top of it to squeeze out any leftover water. You do not want to make this motion. That is too dangerous. That will stretch the stitches. So we'll just roll it up in a towel and then just, put my weight on it to gently squeeze out the water. And then usually all I do is just lay it on a flat surface, make sure that there are no wrinkles in the fabric so that it lies beautiful and flat, and that is all I do. I do not pin it down at all. I do not try to change the length in any way. I know that some people do that a lot, especially if they are working with superwash yarns, because superwash yarns tend to grow quite a bit after washing. Alpaca yarns as well, they grow a lot after washing, and certain stitch patterns too, like brioche stitch tends to grow. Or you can also say fisherman's rib. Those two stitch patterns may grow a little bit after washing. So of course that makes it a little difficult, but I always try to knit to size rather than block to size. And the only things that I ever pin down on my blocking board with little pins are all over lace projects, because you naturally want lace to spread open, and shawls, big giant shawls, as this one is going to be. But usually if I pin this down, I would not stretch it in a way that I would stretch all over lace projects. So basically what I was trying to say is I would never recommend what I just said I might need to attempt with this project. I would never on purpose try to change the size or shape of my knitting project while blocking, unless absolutely necessary. I would not recommend that at all, because especially with sweaters, I feel like while they are worn, they also change their shape a little bit. So sometimes the sleeves get a little bit shorter, because when you bend your arm here, then this circumference around the elbow gets a little wider. And if you can see that if I pull here, which makes the circumference wider, you can see that the sleeve cuff gets a little pulled in here, you see, and all these motions and stuff change how the sweater fits, and I would not try to mess with that with blocking. I feel like if I stretch something very, very much, then it will usually go back to its original state while I wear it, and the other way around too. If I try to block something to a little smaller size than it actually came out of the wash, then I feel that is not permanent either. So maybe to say, maybe you wonder, so why am I blocking my knits at all if I don't want it to change the size? Well, I feel like blocking and making the yarn wet really helps all the stitches to set, which gives you a lovely finish of the work. So your knitting will look much more even. Any small inconsistencies will be evened out, and you get a more polished and finished look. So this is why I would always want to block my items before I wear them. But as I said, there's no right or wrong here. I'm just trying to explain what I do. I even block my hats, but I just lay them flat on the surface, and whenever I walk past them, I pick it up and I put my hand in it and I wiggle it around a little bit, so that I do not get like these two folds where the hat was folded to lay flat on the ground, and then I put it back on the floor, making the folds at a different area. And I do the same thing with my sweaters. If I know it takes some time to dry, then I pick it up every once in a while, wiggle it around a little bit, and then I smooth it out again, trying to avoid these creases here. Yeah, so I think that is about everything I do for blocking. I think it's very easy. I just throw it into the machine, take it out, squeeze out the rest of the water, and then just lay it flat to dry. And it is really fast. And yeah. And one more thing, why, in my opinion, it also does not make too much sense to pin something to size, because if you do that, then you would have to do that every time you wash the item. Of course, as you probably know, it is not necessary to wash woolen sweaters as often as you would wash your regular clothes, but I don't want to make the effort to just pin everything down every time. So I have used this method for many years now. I'm not sure, even 6 years, 7 years, and I have never had an incident with my washing machine. It works perfectly, and it makes blocking very easy for me. So I hope this segment was helpful to you. If you are interested to hear about something else in an informational segment in another episode in the future, then please leave that in the comments below. I feel like I'm slowly but surely running out of ideas myself. So if this is something you appreciate, then drop your ideas there. And if you feel like this podcast does not necessarily need these segments, and it is kind of something that is nice to have but not necessary, then that's fine too. Let me know, and I will see how this podcast goes. At the end of each podcast episode, I usually spotlight a knitter, podcaster or designer, and today I would like to introduce you to Cassandra from Knitwithnimbus. And Cassandra is a very talented knitter. Her knits are always in a color spectrum that is right up my alley. I really enjoy watching her knits, and right now I believe she is working on a beautiful colorwork cardigan, I believe, that is inspired by one that Kate Bush, the singer, wore in one of her videos, I believe. Either way, no matter what the inspiration was, it is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to see it finished, and I really hope that you will enjoy her knits too. I am really happy if you have made it all the way to the end. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'm looking forward to see you next time. Bye!